Hello everyone, and welcome to the Isle of Aveldouar. The IOA Railway is a freelance layout in 016.5mm NG 7mm set on the fictional Isle of Aveldouar. The current layout plan takes up an area approximately 30 feet wide by 20 feet tall. The route is about 15 miles long and meanders north from Port Wind along the rushing river across Mount of Colour Mountains and through the fertile farmland headed to the capital of Trackwork. Construction on the layout began at the end of December of 25. The benchwork is constructed from 2x4 framing lumber with 3-inch construction screws as fasteners. The total layout is split into 12 tables that could be separated should the need arise. The sub-roadbed is 1/2-inch plywood fastened with 2-inch construction screws. In total, it only took about a week to get the benchwork to this point. From there, we were able to start laying roadbed. In February of 26, cork roadbed began being laid to create the base of the island line. However, many changes happened to the track plan, and at least once the roadbed had to be lifted from sections and changed. Most of the cork is from Atlas, while some is from Midwest products. The process to put down cork is actually quite simple. With the plan drawn onto the plywood, I would dry fit the piece of cork to one side of the center line, and using a sharp hobby knife, I would score and snap the piece I needed. Then, using a normal wood glue, I would run a bead on one side of the center line and lay the cork into the glue. To secure the cork, I used push pins, which sometimes required some gentle coaxing from a hammer, though track nails, finishing nails, or anything else could also be used. I would first pin down the straight section up to the start of a curve, and then would pin the end of the curve, filling in the centers last. The hope is to create a natural curve. The process is then duplicated with the other half of roadbed. After several days of work and about 140 feet of cork roadbed later, the layout was finally ready for track. A few days ago, I took the turnouts and flex track that had been purchased for this layout and laid out the pieces where they would go. Mostly, I am using used Atlas HO Code 100 flex track, so I sorted out the best pieces to use in the longest sections of mainline. The other pieces will be used in shorter sections on sidings and further back in the layout. The turnouts are all Atlas HO Code 100 number 4s, which, while sharp for most layouts, will work fine for a small narrow gauge line with short wheelbase power. While laying track, I would start from prominent turnouts, complex sections of track work, and work out from those points. Once the turnout is secured in place, I would dry fit the flex track, connecting either 2 points or going from one point out further into the line. Using the rail joiners, I would dry fit first, then would use a marker to mark the flex track where I would need to cut it with flush cutting rail nippers. Using a small razor saw, the ties can be removed to provide extra space for the rail joiners, and all D-ties were removed from turnouts as well to create a more realistic look. Once the fit was correct, liquid nail caulking was applied and spread on the roadbed, and the track is set into the adhesive. Push pins were again used to secure the track, while track nails were driven into the holes in the ties. While it is not necessary to use both adhesive and spikes, I opted to do so as a failsafe for my first layout build. To drive the track nails, I used a flat metal punch, but actual track nail tools are available for purchase. It's important that your track is laid smoothly and correctly so that your layout can operate as smoothly as you would hope it to. Take the time and be sure that you are putting down your track the best way possible. This was over halfway into my track laying experience, so by this point I had gotten much faster at laying it, but it was a slow process when I started. The benefit with the track nails is that they will go all the way through the cork roadbed and into the plywood, which will create a lot more secure of track attachment than just into the cork. Do be careful to not too tightly fasten your track nails, else it'll bend the ties and change the width of your rails, width between your rails. Once the track was all laid, it was time to test the joints and turnouts with some rolling stock. These are a pair of Bachmann ON30 low-side 18-foot gondolas. All the turnouts here are being changed by hand. However, once complete, almost all turnouts on the layout will be powered by switch motors. Now I think it's time for a layout tour. For this tour, we will start at the south end of the line, climbing up out of Port Wind, past the rocky bluffs and away from the Atlantic. The line passes through a forested area along the river on this northbound trip and then past the slate mine at Lake of Meadows. Lake of Meadows sits along the Mount of Color mountain range as our railway climbs around the lake and crosses a stone arch bridge into Knightsbridge. Knightsbridge is a small town amongst the mountain meadows with a textile mill, grain mill, and railway engine facilities. It is a lively town that is always bustling with festivals, fairs, and markets. Continuing north past the grain mill, our railway enters the rural valley. Many farms, crops, and pastures for different livestock are here as our train passes through, ready to descend to Costco. Costco is the capital of this island nation and features a huge castle near the Y. The National University sits atop the tunnel headed to the Grand Station on the other side of the wall. A huge theater, shops, a market, and many people bustling about the square every single day. Costco is also the industrial heart of the island, and our two largest industries are here, with the brewery on the left and factory on the right. These two industries produce most of the exports headed to Port Wind. Well, that is a quick overview of our railway and where we are at so far. I hope that you enjoyed your time here, and I hope that you will follow and comment to stay up to date on our progress. We hope to see you next time.